North Atlantic, winter 1940. A convoy pushes through heavy seas, engines straining, decks awash, crews on edge. Somewhere out there, unseen beneath the waves, a periscope breaks the surface. Without warning, a spread of torpedoes tears through the convoy. Explosions roll across the water as ships burn. By morning, 2 ships are gone. Their attacker dives and disappears before the escorts can even react. This was U-48, Germany's most successful U-boat. In less than 2 years of combat, it would sink more than 50 Allied vessels, over 300,000 tons of shipping, and become the standard by which every other U-boat was measured. This is the story of U-48, Germany's most lethal U-boat of World War II. U-48 was a Type 7B U-boat, an improved version of Germany's ubiquitous Type 7A. Laid down at the Germania Werft shipyard in Kiel and commissioned in April 1939, U-48 was 218 feet long, with a surface displacement of about 753 tons. The Type 7B design featured 5 torpedo tubes and carried up to 14 torpedoes. U-48 was also armed with an 8.8 cm deck gun and a 2 cm anti-aircraft cannon. Standard for U-boats early in the war, 2 diesel engines gave a top surface speed of around 18 knots and about 8 knots submerged. Crucially, the Type 7B had extended range, over 8,500 nautical miles at economic speed, which enabled patrols deep into the Atlantic. This formidable vessel was built for one primary role: commerce raiding in the Battle of the Atlantic. U-48 belonged to the 7th U-boat flotilla and was part of Admiral Dönitz's strategy to starve Britain by sinking merchant shipping. Just before war broke out on September 1st, 1939, U-48 had already put to sea on patrol, poised to attack Allied ships as soon as hostilities began. The boat's long range and improved torpedo load made it ideal for hunting convoys. The U-boat would operate from German ports initially, and after France fell in mid-1940, from the new U-boat bases on the Bay of Biscay, maximizing its reach into the Atlantic. With a crew of roughly 45 men, including highly trained officers, U-48 was a cutting-edge predator of its time. Under the command of Kapitänleutnant Herbert Schulze, U-48 commenced its first war patrol within days of the invasion of Poland. In September 1939, it patrolled the shipping lanes west of Britain and sank 3 merchant ships, grossing 14,777 tons in shipping on its maiden patrol. One of these victims was the British freighter Royal Scepter. In a notable display of early war chivalry, Schulze allowed Royal Scepter's crew to abandon ship and even signalled a nearby neutral vessel, SS Browning, to rescue the survivors. After sinking the steamer Furby on that same patrol, Schulze sent a cheeky open radio message addressed to Winston Churchill, giving the ship's coordinates and requesting rescue for its crew. These gestures, while propagandistic, showed Schulze's adherence to prize rules at the war's outset. U-48's second and third patrols in October and November 1939 were even more devastating to Allied shipping. Schulze roamed the western approaches, sending ship after ship to the bottom. In October, U-48 sank 5 vessels, including the large French tanker SS Émile Maguet, and then another 4 ships in November-December. By the end of 1939, U-48 had sunk over a dozen ships, establishing itself as one of the Kriegsmarine's rising stars. Schulze's successes earned him the Knight's Cross in March 1940, one of the first U-boat commanders to be so honoured. U-48 continued its streak into 1940. On its 4th patrol from January to February 1940, the submarine operated in the North Sea and North Atlantic, notching additional kills amidst the winter seas. In April 1940, during the Norwegian campaign, U-48 even attempted an audacious attack on the Royal Navy. It tried to penetrate the escort screen of the British battleship HMS Warspite, only to be chased off by vigilant destroyers who pummeled U-48 with depth charges. The U-boat escaped with minor damage, a narrow miss during an operation that showed the increasing risks as Allied anti-submarine efforts stiffened. In spring 1940, Schulze fell ill with a severe stomach and kidney ailment and had to relinquish command. Korvettenkapitän Hans Rudolf Rosing took over U-48 in May 1940, just as Germany's position improved with the fall of France. Now operating from captured French Atlantic ports, U-48 could undertake longer patrols and reach hunting grounds previously beyond range. Rosing's first patrol in June 1940 proved one of U-48's most successful. Refueling in newly available bases in Norway extended their mission, allowing U-48 to sink 8 ships on that single patrol, an astonishing haul. Among these were stragglers and convoy ships in the eastern Atlantic that fell victim to U-48's torpedoes. On a subsequent patrol in August 1940, Rosing added 5 more sinkings before bringing U-48 into the U-boat base at Lorient, France. By the end of the summer, U-48's kill count had surpassed 20 ships, and Rosing himself was awarded the Knight's Cross for his success. In August 1940, U-48 joined other U-boats in a coordinated wolf pack for the first time, codenamed Rosing after its commander, striking convoy HX-65, sinking 2 freighters before enduring a depth charge attack by HMS Gudathia and escaping underwater. This was guerrilla warfare at sea, hit-and-run torpedo attacks at night, followed by harrowing cat-and-mouse evasions from escorts. In these engagements, U-48 demonstrated the tactics that made U-boats so feared. One night in late March 1941, U-48 even steered into the middle of convoy HX-115 and boldly attacked while running among the merchant columns on the surface. Several armed freighters fired back and attempted to ram the U-boat, but U-48 weaved through the chaos, dodged the would-be rammers, and slipped away before the convoy's escorts could react. Such daring maneuvers underscored the skill of U-48's crew and the bold leadership of its commanders. In September 1940, Heinrich Ajax Bleichrodt took command, and U-48's 8th War Patrol soon became infamous. Patrolling north of Ireland and south of Greenland, U-48 attacked convoy ships relentlessly. On September 17, 1940, Bleichrodt torpedoed the passenger liner SS City of Benares, tragically sinking it. 90 of the 119 on board were killed, among over 250 total dead. The sinking of City of Benares shocked public opinion in Britain and abroad, and led to Bleichrodt being labelled a war criminal by the British press. After the war, Bleichrodt was indeed accused of a war crime for this sinking, though he was ultimately acquitted in 1946. The controversy has endured. The ship sailed in a convoy at night with no special markings. Regardless, the incident stands as a grim reminder of the human cost of the U-boat campaign. Notwithstanding the tragedy, U-48's 8th Patrol was devastatingly effective militarily. In the span of 6 days, U-48 sank City of Benares and 7 other ships from convoys SC-3 and OB-213. Among these victims during Bleichrodt's patrol was the British warship HMS Dundee, a Royal Navy sloop of about 1,060 tons, which U-48 sent to the bottom. This was the single warship kill during its career. By patrol's end, Bleichrodt had sunk 8 ships totaling over 36,000 tons. German propaganda trumpeted even higher figures. Bleichrodt's next sortie in October 1940 was similarly successful, adding another 8 merchant ships, 43,000 tons, to U-48's tally. By late 1940, U-48 had become a true ace of the deep, with its consecutive commanders, Schulze, Rosing, and Bleichrodt, all among the top U-boat skippers in confirmed sinkings. In December 1940, Herbert Schulze, recovered from illness, returned to U-48's bridge, relieving Bleichrodt. However, the U-boat war was evolving. The Royal Navy and Allied forces were improving convoy defences with better escort tactics, radar, and air patrols, making U-boat operations riskier. U-48 undertook a few final war patrols under Schulze in early 1941. It still scored successes, sinking 2 ships on its 9th patrol and 5 on its 10th patrol, but the happy times were waning. By now, the veteran U-48 was considered technologically obsolete compared to newer boats. Its relatively short range and limited torpedo load were becoming liabilities as the battle spread across broader oceans. After a winter refit in early 1941, U-48 found itself increasingly outrun by improved Allied anti-submarine measures and the need for longer missions. U-48's 12th and final war patrol came in May-June 1941. Notably, during this patrol, U-48 joined the Wolfpack West, June 2nd to 8th, 1941, one of the coordinated group attacks that Donitz was deploying against convoys in its final patrols. The boat still managed to sink several more ships, 5 vessels on the last patrol, bringing its career total to an astounding 51 merchant ships and 1 escort. On June 22nd, 1941, U-48 returned to Kiel from patrol for the last time. In 2 years of combat, it had conducted 12 war patrols and was credited with sinking over 50 ships, totaling more than 300,000 tons of Allied shipping, a record unmatched by any other submarine in World War II. Remarkably, throughout all these battles, U-48 never lost a single crewman to enemy action or accident during its operational career. By mid-1941, the Kriegsmarine decided that U-48 had earned its retirement from frontline service. The trusty boat was withdrawn from combat and assigned to training duties with the 26th U-boat flotilla in the Baltic. For the next 2 years, U-48 served as a schoolboat, helping to train a new generation of U-boat crews. Its veteran hull and systems were valuable for instructing cadets, even if no longer ideal for battle. As the war wore on, U-48 itself began showing its age. In 1943, the Navy deemed the submarine unfit even for training, likely due to wear and tear and the general decline in Germany's resources. U-48 was formally decommissioned on September 25, 1943. The boat was laid up at Neustadt in Holstein, on the Baltic coast of Germany, kept barely operational by only a skeleton maintenance crew. U-48 remained through the final years of the war, moored and silent while Allied bombs rained on the Third Reich. In May 1945, as British forces advanced into northern Germany, U-48's custodians took action to prevent its capture. On May 3, 1945, just days before Germany's surrender, U-48's crew scuttled the submarine in the Bay of Lübeck, off Neustadt. The once deadly U-boat was deliberately sunk in shallow coastal waters, its crew ensuring it would not fall into Allied hands. Thus, U-48 never fell to enemy attack. It was destroyed by its own men at the war's end. The wreck of U-48 remains at the bottom of Lübeck Bay, a submerged relic of the Battle of the Atlantic. U-48 holds a special place in naval history as the most successful U-boat of World War II. In terms of tonnage sunk, no other submarine, German or Allied, matched U-48's devastating record of over 306,000 tons of enemy shipping sent to the bottom. This single U-boat had effectively waged a one-vessel commerce war, especially during 1939 to 1940, when Allied anti-submarine defences were still catching up. Its achievements were a significant contribution to the first happy time, that early war period when U-boats ravaged Atlantic convoys almost at will. U-48's story is often cited to illustrate the potency of German U-boats and the high tide of the U-boat campaign before Allied countermeasures turned the tables. U-48's commanders and crew left an enduring legacy. 7 crewmen from U-48 eventually earned the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross, Germany's highest award for valor, including all 3 of its wartime skippers. Herbert Schulze, the first and longest-serving commander of U-48, became a U-boat flotilla commander, and later served on Admiral Donitz's staff. Schulze survived World War II and even joined West Germany's post-war navy, Bundesmarine, in 1956, retiring as a Kapitän zur See, naval captain, in 1968. He was remembered by comrades as an exemplary naval officer in the best tradition. Hans Rudolf Rosing, who led U-48 through the successful summer of 1940, went on to important staff roles, including commander of U-boats West in 1942 to 1944, directing Atlantic operations. Rosing also joined the post-war Bundesmarine and rose to the rank of Konteradmiral, Rear Admiral, before retiring in 1965. Heinrich Bleichrodt continued active U-boat command, sinking more ships on later patrols, notably with U-109, and receiving oak leaves to his Knight's Cross. Though shadowed by the City of Benares incident, Bleichrodt survived the war and lived until 1977. The careers of U-48's commanders after 1941 illustrate how highly regarded these men were. The boat effectively served as a proving ground for U-boat aces, who later took on senior roles. In all, the U-boat's 2-year rampage, from the opening of hostilities to mid-1941, encapsulates the arc of the U-boat war. Initial overwhelming success, the adaptation of Allied defences, and the eventual decline of the U-boat's dominance. While its hull rests quietly under Baltic waters, the legend of U-48 endures as a reminder of how one small vessel, skillfully captained, came to terrorize the Atlantic, becoming one of the deadliest vessels ever put to sea.